Apple's tech timber is finally over and they are done launching their latest and greatest iPhones, Apple Watch and the AirPods. Now the devices are hitting the shelves and are also here at the Digit Test Center for us to evaluate. What happens when a device is claimed by the brand to be their greatest ever? Well, we put it to the churner at the Digit Test Center and evaluate whether in this case the iPhone 16 is worth spending your hard-earned 80,000 rupees or not, or whether you should hold back and buy it sometime later when it is much cheaper. Join me, Satvik Pandey, as I take you through my experience and review of the iPhone 16 and answer all of the questions about the hardware, software, cameras, and most importantly, the Apple intelligence. But before that, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever we put out a review or a video here on Digit. With that, let's get started. In terms of the design at the front, the iPhone 16 isn't much of a departure from its predecessor, the iPhone 15 series of phones. The display of the iPhone 16 hasn't changed much coming from the iPhone 15, other than the fact that the 16 has a 0.4% bigger screen-to-body ratio compared to the iPhone 15. Good luck noticing that. Just like the last generation, you get a 60Hz display, which is way behind its time now. Apple, please fix. The biggest change that we get is on the side and back of the phone. On this side, there is the much talked about camera button which works really well, only if you can reach it comfortably though. In my time of use, I often found it difficult to reach with my hands, so keep an eye out on that and try it for yourself before purchasing the iPhone 16. And on the back, you get the whole new camera housing with the two cameras of the phone arranged vertically in a much smaller island which has exiled the flash to the side. The microphone does retain its residency though. When rested flat on the table without the cover, the phone wobbles quite a bit, and if I were you, I would keep it screen side down or put it in a case. That's because the bottom camera housing makes direct contact with the table, and I'm pretty sure with time it will pick up some scuff. The in-hand feel of the iPhone 16 series is amazing with the rounded edges of the phone, giving it a nice grip and feel in day-to-day use. The aluminum housing of the phone is cold to touch and provides enough structural integrity to the phone, despite the new camera button adding a potential point of failure. And if you are one for carrying your phone as a style statement, then you are in luck, as the iPhone 16 comes in 5 different colors for you to choose, and the one with me right now is the ultramarine color, and honestly I like it quite a bit. Enough about the built-in design, now let's move on to the features of the iPhone 16. Right off the bat, the biggest highlight of the iPhone 16 series is Apple Intelligence. But it won't be making an appearance on iPhones until next year, with support for Indian English coming even later. My question to Apple is, why even talk about it when you are not shipping it at the time of release? They could have easily held back and announced its arrival at WWDC much closer to the actual date of it showing up on iPhones. With that out of the way, the iPhone 16 ships out of the box with iOS 18, which comes with its own trinkets and features that Apple fans had been waiting for years now. You can hide apps, lock them behind Face ID, and customize your home screen with much more control in your hands. Well, look at that, finally I can change the color of my icons. Whatever. The action button is the same from last year, and apart from that, there is not much to say over here. The compatibility of the iPhone with rest of the devices in the ecosystem is as good as ever, and there is not much to complain about on the software side of things when it comes to daily use. iOS 18 is a much needed step up, but not enough of a reason for you to upgrade to the 16. Now, on to the display of the phone. The display of the iPhone 16 is same as that of the base 15 variant from last year. The 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel has great color representation, and you get exactly what you would expect from an iPhone. You have vivid colors that are pleasing to the eye, and deep blacks make content consumption a fairly immersive experience when viewing high-fidelity content on platforms like Netflix. In terms of the brightness, the iPhone peaked at 1568 nits of brightness in bright daylight and dipped to just 1 nit in dark environments. When fiddling around with the settings, I found an always-on display option, but there was no toggle in the menu, so I don't know what's up with that. The 60Hz display, rather the lack of ProMotion, is again a pain point that Apple has not addressed. And if you are coming from a higher refresh rate screen, you will definitely notice the difference. Coming from the iPhone 13 Pro to the 16 was a jarring experience for me. Now, when it comes to the performance, Apple has aced it yet again. In the price range, the iPhone 16 is one of the best performing phones of all time. If you're one for the numbers, then here are the benchmark scores of the iPhone 16. In Antutu, the phone scored 16,31,715 points. In other benchmarks like 3D Mark, GFX Bench and Geekbench, again the scores were pretty impressive, and as you can see on your screens right now, the delta between competing Samsung and Google flagships is almost always in the favor of iPhone 16. The storage on this device is also snappy and even trumped its beefier cousin, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, in our PC Mark sequential write test. Now, with the numbers out of the way, let's talk about the real world performance. Be it opening and closing apps, running fairly heavy applications, or even gaming, the iPhone does the job really well. As you can see, COD Mobile with max settings also worked really well in my time of use. Now, given that Apple is positioning its new iPhones as all-in-one creator-centric devices, I used Adobe Premiere Rush to render a quick 4K video that I shot on this. And the phone honestly handled it with ease. I even hooked it up to a monitor using a USB-C cable for live preview when using the app, and that task was also a breeze for this phone. Staying on the topic of content creation with the iPhone 16, let's talk about its camera performance. The iPhone 16 comes with a dual camera setup at the back, with the 12 megapixel ultra-wide shooter complementing the 48 megapixel primary camera on this device. Both of them are pretty similar to the iPhone 15. The iPhone 16's camera shined bright in well-lit environments, be it selfies, portraits or scenery shots when I was using the device. As you can see on your screen, the edge detection in natural light portraits is fairly on point, and the details and the dynamic range in complex scenarios are pretty well presented. In nighttime photography though, the iPhone 16 struggled a bit. When shooting complex scenes, the iPhone retains the dynamic range and the details fairly well, but as you can see in this picture of my Jordans on your screen right now, there was pretty bad artifacting taking place when I switched to the ultra-wide camera on this phone. It tried to detail the shoe, but failed spectacularly and produced a lot of unwanted artifacts on it. I switched on the flash in favor of the 3-second shutter speed, and the results improved immediately. As for videos, here's how they are on the iPhone 16. Hey guys, Future Satvik here, and this is how the camera performance is when it switched to video mode on the iPhone 16. As you can see, we are on 1x zoom level and the cameraman is standing a couple of feet away from me, and this is how the video looks and feels like in natural lighting. The details are fairly crisp, and when it comes to the audio, the microphones pick the audio well despite some noise in the background as well. And when it comes to the front camera, the performance is fairly similar to that of the rear cameras of the phone, where the details in my background are fairly well maintained, and my face also is pretty much very well lit despite the light being slightly faded as we are standing in a shade. Now, the camera app itself has gotten a fair bit of customizations added in for the power users out there. Now, this bags a few brownie points for Apple in the camera department. Moving on to the battery life of the iPhone 16. Now, this phone packs a 3561 mAh battery capable of fast charging, which will top up the battery up to 50% in just half an hour as claimed by the brand. Now, in real-world applications using a 45-watt PD charger, I was able to charge the phone from 0 to 100% in just 98 minutes. Relatively slower than competing devices, but good enough. Now, if you're a fan of wireless charging, then you will get 25 watts of charging using the MagSafe puck, or 15 watts with a Qi2 certified charger. Again, for the fans of stats, the iPhone 16 in our tests lasted around 18 hours in the 4K video loop test and reported fairly minimum drops in battery when it came to the gaming and GPS navigation test. In real world, this translates to about 1.5 days of power if you are a light user who is mostly texting on your phone and is in a good cellular and Wi-Fi reception area. If you are a power user shooting, editing and gaming on your iPhone 16, then you might be able to squeeze out around 7 to 8 hours of battery life with some power management required from you. So should you buy the iPhone 16? The answer is a yes and a no. Yes, for the folks who are looking for the greatest and latest iPhone in their pocket, which performs better than what they would need in the real world and is also a fairly capable camera and an overall great content creation tool. The camera app has a set of new features that will let you move back to the native app if you are someone who likes granular control over your photos and videos. And the microphone is also tuned fairly well to capture audio that complements your videos. But if Apple Intelligence was a selling point for you, I would say you should wait it out. Until Apple releases the full version of Apple Intelligence globally, you should not bother getting the iPhone 16 at all. By the time it rolls around, you'll see a couple of online sales pass by and the price will definitely drop. Then it would make sense to invest your hard-earned money towards the latest and greatest iPhone. And that was my review of the iPhone 16. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below if you're already using one, and if not, let us know whether this phone met your expectations or not and which phone you would like us to review next. Thanks for watching and I'll see you around.